Joining us now is a man that baseball fans are very familiar with over the years, one of the foremost experts and insiders, and he was at the ALCS. It's ESPN's Buster Olney with you here on The Fan. And a good evening, sir. It's an honor to have you on. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great. How much fun is that for you guys to talk about?
Dream.
My goodness.
It's a dream.
That is
it really
a
is.
fun team.
Yeah, you know, we had to pinch ourselves when they got out of spring training hot and the whole way through, and we didn't know if they were going to be the kind of team that could win playoff series. Dang it, Buster, you know, looked like they were flawed, but this team is starting to appear to be maybe a team of destiny or a team on a mission. What do you think of them?
100%, and a great group of pros. We had them on one of our first broadcasts of the year, and I remember being around that team and immediately being struck by, as you look around the clubhouse, there's Marcus Semien, who's so serious about his work, and Corey Seager, who just loves to play baseball so much. Down to Robbie Grossman, who I was talking to the other day, and I mentioned to him that he's in the conversation for the biggest baseball fan ever among baseball players. And Nathan Eovaldi, who has his great history in the postseason. And I've been telling this story that during the course of the year, and this reflects to me kind of who the Rangers are. You saw all these teams doing these dugout celebrations of home runs. The homer hose with the Orioles. The Mariners with the Trident, et cetera, and those are all fun. But when I asked the Rangers people about this, I'm like, so what are you guys going to do going forward? It was like, nah, that's not really our thing. And I thought that's perfect for this group of players because they're really serious about their work, and there's something that is fun and really enjoyable about watching that. That all played out in the American League Championship Series.
Well, one player that is a personality and is a ton of fun is Adolis Garcia, and I'm hoping the rest of Major League Baseball can really get an appreciation for what kind of player he is. I mean, I've always loved listening to you talk baseball. What's it like watching what Bombi's doing during this postseason run, specifically in the ALCS, and how rare it is maybe historically?
Well, I mean, shoot, the numbers are the numbers. When you got a guy driving in 14, 15 runs in a playoff series, and it began to feel like he was hitting a home run every other plate appearance, which is why in Game 7 we were surprised that Dusty Baker, with a couple of opportunities, didn't pitch around him. And it really, I think, reflects what you heard about him as a player coming up, that, yeah, he's hyper-aggressive, and, yeah, he plays with a lot of energy. But within that, he's capable of making adjustments. In Game 6, after everything that happened in Game 5 with Garcia getting hit by a pitch and then reacting, Martin Maldonado, bench is clear, and he's getting booed at the beginning of Game 6 in Houston, and he's striking out, and he's looking anxious doing that, and you're thinking, okay, well, he's done here, right? He's just going to fall into one of these funks that a player can't get out of. And not only did he hit a home run in Game 6, at the end of Game 6, but then he also goes deep in Game 7. And that was really cool because I can tell you, especially with postseason pressure, it's really hard for players to deal with those sort of emotional swings. What an amazing job he did in doing that.
Buster, you're baseball royalty, and as you go through this past season and here trying to get through this World Series as well, how about the job that Chris Young has done as a first-time general manager for this ball club? Your thoughts about him and how he navigated the season, the trade deadlines, all those things that led to this day.
I love the fact that he had a distinct plan of what he wanted to do. He followed his instincts, and this is where they are. And look, it's not something that you typically see in front offices these days. You have a general manager go to a manager and say to him, look, I want you to run my team, and I want you to take it over. Like, I want you to do that job. I'm not going to come down into your office on a daily basis and tell you what to do. He knows Bruce Bochy and said, I want that guy. It's pretty clear that he also has a very distinct opinion about what he wants in a clubhouse. And I talked about the personality of the Rangers. These are all players brought in by Chris. And look, you can make an argument that his tenure has not been out without mistakes. He goes after Jacob deGrom at a time when other people were like, "Boy, the injury risk is there." And she makes a big trade for Max Scherzer. That didn't probably pay off the way that he wanted to. But Chris was aggressive and knew what he wanted to put together, and now here we are. They're in the World Series. He did a tremendous job.
It's ESPN's Buster Olney with you here on 105.3 The Fan. So with how they match up, we're trying to figure out exactly what to expect. How much better is Texas than Arizona?
Well, on paper, and I picked them, but I mean, anybody who at this point is going to give you a straight face and say, yes, here's a prediction, and I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen. I mean, forget that. Like the Diamondbacks, to me, if they wind up, winning the World Series, they'll be the most improbable baseball champion ever. Having come through multiple rounds of the Brewers and the Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies, I didn't think anybody was going to beat the Phillies. An 84-win team going through 3 rounds of playoffs against teams which on paper are better than them. So I'm laughing at myself and saying I'm an idiot. I have no idea what's going to happen. I picked the Astros to beat the Rangers in the American League Championship Series. So I don't know about a prediction. I do know this, that you're talking about 2 teams that are playing really well right now. There's a lot of confidence, and they believe in their own resiliency. So the Diamondbacks, go back to Philadelphia needing to win there, and the players at this stage, they believe they can do that. The Rangers the other day after they beat the Astros, remember talking to Boch and asking that question about, what defines you guys? And he spoke about the resiliency of the team. All those players believe in that now. All those players believe they're going to figure out a way to get it done.
Buster, we are just fascinated with what went wrong with Houston. I was wondering if you had an explanation for us. Did they lose 21 of their last 28 regular season and playoffs combined at Minute Maid?
Something like that. And there are a couple things that I think are going on with them. One, and I saw this in the Yankee teams that I covered in the late 90s when I was at the New York Times, that, this is 7 straight appearances in the American League Championship Series, 4 World Series appearances in that time. And I think that the regular season got boring for them. I think that, the juice of playing in these meaningful games begins to drift away. I saw it with those Yankee teams. At the end of the 2000 season, they lost 15 of their last 18 going into the postseason, and then they turned it on like a light switch in the meaningful games. But on top of that, I don't think the Astros ever hit on all cylinders this year. Altuve had a broken thumb in the WBC. Some of the starting pitchers who were dominant in recent years, Framber Valdez, Christian Javier, had struggles going up and down. Their bullpen wasn't as dominant as it's been. And I do think that however you want to try to quantify it, the extra 1%, the extra 5% of having the juice of playing in big games, I think it was something that wasn't a weapon for them this year in that series, and that's why they weren't able to finish off the Rangers.
I think that's a great point. Will you pick the Rangers to win the division next year?
Oh, boy. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I know this. Whatever I pick, it's not going to have any credibility. I picked the Padres to win the World Series before the year started. I'm my picks were ridiculous. I had the Phillies beating the Astros in the World Series. How am I looking this morning? Today with that.
Very close.
Very close.
Got into 2 Game 7s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know this. I didn't pick the Diamondbacks. I didn't pick the Rangers. So will I pick the Rangers next spring? I think in large part it's going to depend on sort of where some of these guys are with the injuries. But I do know this. The Rangers will now, with their success this year, are going to start to build this sort of experience and confidence that the Astros have had as a weapon in recent years. And that'll become the Texas weapon.
That's really good stuff as well. I think, for the Rangers, the offseason could start with Jordan Montgomery, who was with the Cardinals at 1 year and $10 million this year. Can they keep him? What's his next contract going to look like, you think?
Yeah, and first off, I do think he's going to be back with the Rangers because, we go through these cycles in baseball where you have an owner who basically decides, cost be damned. And I think that's where the Rangers are right now. that Ray Davis, it's clear, wants to win a World Series. He's in his 80s. He's enjoying this, just as Mike Ilitch did with the Tigers. We've seen Peter Seidler with the Padres has done that, in recent years, where they just feel like, I'm just going to go and have fun. John Middleton, the Phillies owner, has done that. And you've seen what Jordan Montgomery has done. He's going to be the most sought-after free agent pitcher because of the perception that he's a durable left-hander, and he's had success with the Rangers now, with the pitching coach who he knows, with a manager who has trust in him. I think he's only going to build going forward. And, in terms of an actual number, $150 million, $175 million, I think he's put himself in that category, especially with how we've seen, generally speaking, the group of starting pitchers in baseball diminished, as being a group that isn't going to get paid as much because you can't necessarily trust them to get you to the 6th or 7th inning. And I think Jordan's demonstrated he can be that guy no matter what the Yankees thought of him on the way out the door.
And then I have to ask you these future questions. I know there's so much excitement, Buster, but it's just great to have you. I'd love your thoughts on what the Ranger outfield looks like with Wyatt Langford waiting in the wings and Carter, Taveras, and Garcia with an interesting contract.
Man, and I tell you, Taveras has really played himself into a lot of favor within that organization. Bruce Bochy's talked about how he has just seen him get better and better and better and better. They're in a great spot in terms of using the depth, and maybe that's why having the designated hitter will allow them to put Garcia in that spot more and more as you move forward. Rest some of the other guys. Evan Carter, good Lord. I mean, to see his play discipline at age 21, it's one of the things that I really want to dig into during the course of the World Series is ask the question, where does that come from? Because I mean, Barry Bonds got better and better at plate discipline over the course of his career. It feels like that Evan Carter has been playing – it seems like he should have been playing 25 years of Major League Baseball to have that understanding of the strike zone at such a young age. And he's only going to get better in terms of his understanding of opposing pitchers, how he's being pitched. He's going to be an impact player for a long time.
And Buster, talking about the pitching, certainly, as you know, with Monty and Nathan Eovaldi, who's been tabbed to start Game 1, that's really been the key for the Rangers, right? You get great starting pitching. What are your thoughts right now on Max Scherzer and where he's at this stage of his career?
Well, the one thing, and I was covering the Padres when Boch was hired by them for the first time back in 1994, and I remember a conversation that I had with Randy Smith, who hired him at that time, and I said, what do you like about Bochy as the manager? He said he's not afraid. He has good relationships with players. They trust that he makes decisions based on trying to win that game, and you guys saw it play out with Max. Look, he believes in Max's experience. He knows that Max is working like crazy. He's going to give him an opportunity to, as he makes start by start coming off the injured list, going to kick off some of this rust. And in games, if it's not there, you know what he's going to do? He's going to take him out. And he will watch and use his eyes, and rather than have this pre-game plan of when he's going to get him out of there, he's going to watch and use his eyes. And if he feels like Max doesn't have it, then he's going to hand the ball to somebody else. And maybe that's going to be Andrew Heaney. And if Heaney doesn't have it, then he's going to hand the ball to Cody Bradford. That's how Boch does things. He doesn't care if you're a future Hall of Famer, should be unanimous selection like Max. He's going to give you an opportunity. If you're not getting the job done, he's going to move on to the next guy.
Buster, with your relationship with Boch, do you feel like, though, that did you have a timetable in your mind when he took this job of how many more years he would do it? And is a run like this maybe extended him a little, like, hey, I enjoy being back and doing this?
I can't answer that question. I would say this. He is loving it. We were on the field, and I was doing the post-game interviews on ESPN Radio the other night, and I asked him the question about, how does it feel, your first year back with Texas? And his face lit up, and you could hear the emotion in his face where he had 3 years off, and there's perception that he got pushed out of San Francisco. As time has gone on, and I've had my conversations with him, I think he needed it because he was kind of beaten up. Like he physically had things that needed to be taken care of. And now he looks better. He sounds better. He's having an absolute blast. And I could see that in his face when I talked to him the other night. So I don't necessarily would never put limits on it because he's having so much fun. And maybe the 3 years are great too because he got to have an opportunity to be at home all year round and sort of, see the other side of the fence and spend time with the grandkids. And now he can manage for some years. And maybe he's going to be one of like Jack McKeon, the longtime manager who actually managed Boch at one point, where he can say, look, I want to manage into my late 70s. I think that Boch going forward will take it year to year and see where he is physically. I know this. He just loves being around the players.
Thank you so much, Buster. That was incredible. We'll hope to see you on Friday night.
Okay, that sounds like fun. Good luck. Have fun with it.
Cheers.